Have you ever been in a conversation and just felt invisible? Like nothing you're saying is really landing? Well, there's this viral dating strategy doing the rounds that claims to use dark psychology and even Machiavellian logic to make you totally unforgettable. So let's get into it and break down what it is, the questions it uses, and the actual psychology behind it all.
And this right here, this sentence is the whole philosophy in a nutshell. You see, the argument is that most of us try to create attraction by performing, by talking ourselves up, by explaining and trying to impress. This strategy, it just flips that completely on its head. It's not about what you say, it's about what you can get them to reveal.
All right, so here's the plan. First, we're going to look at what they call the game of attraction. Then, we'll dive into the main event, these so-called forbidden questions. After that, we'll unpack the psychology of power they claim is at work. Then we're going to pivot and take a serious, clinical look at what Machiavellianism really means. And we'll wrap it all up by looking at two totally different philosophies of connection.
Okay, let's start with the big idea. This whole thing is framed as a game of quiet power. The theory suggests that the people who really stick in your mind aren't the loudest or the ones trying the hardest to impress you. No, they're the ones who act as an emotional catalyst to get you to reveal things about yourself instead of just trying to get a reaction out of you.
So here's the absolute core of it. The goal is to completely sidestep someone's logical, rational mind. Instead of trying to convince them you're interesting, the aim is to get in there and tap directly into their memories, their contradictions, to create what they call an emotional imprint that lasts.
And now let's get to the playbook itself. This whole strategy really hinges on a set of what they call forbidden questions. Now, on the surface, they're designed to seem pretty harmless, but the idea is that they're actually psychological tools meant to interrupt someone's normal social programming. Let's take a look at a few.
Okay, so take this first question. Right away, you can see it's not your typical small talk, right? It's not about their favorite movie or what they do for a living. It is deliberately provocative. It's basically asking about a time their self-control might have slipped, and maybe, just maybe, a time they secretly kind of liked it.
And here's why they say it works. A question like that totally yanks a person out of their rehearsed autopilot answers. It sends a powerful signal that you're not just interested in the polished, polite version of them, you're inviting them to share their shadow side without any judgment. And their goal is to create this kind of, forbidden intimacy.
All right, here's another one. And this one is surgical. It completely bypasses their opinions and goes straight for their subconscious, physical reactions. You're not asking them what they think. You're asking them to become an observer of themselves, to notice the little nonverbal tells their own body gives away.
Now, what's so interesting here is the psychological loop this supposedly creates. Once you make someone aware of their own physical signs of attraction, the way their breathing changes or how they can't look away, the idea is that it becomes way harder for them to deny or suppress those feelings. In a way, their body stops being able to lie to them.
This one is probably the most strategic of them all. Notice you're not asking for a place in their life. You're asking them to imagine a role that already exists deep in their mind. You're tapping into that really powerful, universal desire we all have to just be understood without having to spell everything out. And this just perfectly shows the end goal. To answer that question, their brain has to create an image, an internal scenario. And the strategy claims that you, the person who asked the question, become associated with that scenario. Suddenly, you're not just another person they're talking to. You're a possibility that's now linked to one of their deepest longings.
Okay, so we've seen the questions. Now let's dig into the psychological machinery that proponents claim makes them so powerful. We're shifting from the what they are to the why they supposedly work.
The sources behind this strategy tend to use a few key phrases to explain the magic. Emotional imprinting. That's about creating that unforgettable memory. We already talked about bypassing logic. Creating tension is about that unresolved emotional energy. But the really big one is this last one, using open loops.
So what is an open loop? Just think about a cliffhanger at the end of a TV show episode. You feel that powerful urge to know what happens next, right? That tension, that need for closure, that's an open loop. And the idea here is to create that exact same feeling in a conversation, making the other person crave closure and keeping you on their mind long after you've left.
Now, that word, Machiavellian, gets thrown around a lot with these tactics. But what does it actually mean in, a real clinical, psychological context? This is a really important shift we're making here, from a trendy dating tactic to a formal personality trait.
Yeah, according to clinical psychology, Machiavellianism isn't some fun dating hack. It's a core personality trait. It's actually part of something called the dark triad, right up there with narcissism and psychopathy. And as you can see, the real definition is pretty chilling. It's all about manipulation, exploitation, and a willingness to hurt other people to get what you want.
And when you put the two side by side like this, it's kind of eye-opening. On the left, you have the language of dating advice: use silence, create tension. And on the right, you see the descriptions from clinical psychology. It really shows you how language can frame the exact same behaviors in two totally different ways. One as a power move, the other as a clear sign of an abusive dynamic.
And these are the concrete red flags of a truly Machiavellian personality in a relationship. We're talking about a complete lack of empathy, a real coldness toward a partner's feelings. They'll often justify controlling behavior as protecting you. They might use charm and gifts not out of affection, but as actual tools for control. And maybe the most dangerous part, they are masters at exploiting a partner's emotional vulnerabilities for their own personal gain.
You know, this whole topic really plugs into a much bigger, ongoing debate about what actually creates attraction in the first place. This is not settled science by any means, and there are two major schools of thought that are in direct opposition to each other.
And you can see this debate framed really well. On one side, you have the enigma approach, popularized by authors like Robert Greene. This whole philosophy is about being a compelling puzzle, creating thrill and tension by being mysterious, and even hiding your intentions. But then, on the other side, you have the authentic approach, championed by people like Mark Manson. And this is all about being direct, confident, and actually showing your vulnerability as a sign of strength and self-awareness.
So really, what this all boils down to is a fundamental conflict. Is true, lasting attraction built on mystery and carefully calculated influence, becoming this sort of blank screen for others to project their fantasies onto? Or is it built on genuine confidence and authentic vulnerability, showing people who you really are and attracting those who connect with that?
And that brings us to the final and I think most important question. Because at the end of the day, all these techniques, whether you're creating tension loops or being radically honest, they all exist on a spectrum of influence. So the real question we're left with is this: where do you draw the line between benign influence and harmful manipulation? That's something to think about.